What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi here, flying solo. We have no sheets today. Hope you're all doing well. Nice to see K9 Bronco in the chat. When you get in, say what's up. Pop in your questions. You know how the whole drill goes. I'm going to go through what I'm playing mostly today, and not my favorite slate in history. I like some of the chalkier teams. I do think the Yankees are going to be lower owned and for better reason. You can see the total just keep dropping in that game, and you see the lineup the Yankees rolled out today. Certainly not as strong as what we were projecting. How many people are really going to click the Glaber button? How many people are going to play Kiner Falefa? So you can potentially use the Yankees as a different stack, which is something I thought they were going to be the mega chalk when the day started, but because of the lineup they rolled out, I don't think it's going to roll that way exactly. If the Dodger game gets canceled, then all bets are off on that one. So we still have to wait. It's a general. I always say a little shout out to Roth from RG because I do think he's the best weather person for this in the business. And, he's got it as a yellow right now, which is sort of an in-between. Could be, we'll probably want to know about the in-game delay. I'll talk about that in Discord a little later. But I do like the Dodgers, Yankees. I like Minnesota, not crazy about the weather. And I'm getting onto the Phillies as my other, not even get weird stack, just my other solid stack that I think we should be taking advantage of. Nice 73 degrees in Atlanta. The wind's blowing out 11 miles an hour to left field. You got the lefty on the mound. With the righties, you could want to use Baum at the top of the orders, affordable. I would say that Castellanos is a really good play. Hoskins is a really good play. And then Real Muto down at the bottom of the order at 4,100, I think makes for a really nice beginning of a stack. And you can always throw in Bryce, obviously, to round out the 5-man or Segura. I think it's a little lower on Schwarber for me, but certainly always like Schwarber at low ownership. And I think that would be the next stack for me. Maybe even ahead of Minnesota for a full stack, but I like a couple of the Minnesota bats. I don't mind taking one of the value guys and the minimum cost-ish guys in Larnach or Gordon, and then you pair that with Buxton and one of Correa and Polanco. I like it more as a 3-man or Kepler. All of those guys make sense to me. I think they're going to be a little overowned because some of the pricing. So using it more as a 3-man myself. My pitchers in order are Cole easily far and away number 1, Wheeler number 2. I am going to play Marco Gonzalez when he gets to be this cheap. And I also, just to be completely, transparent, I have a Marco Gonzalez, Zach Greinke lineup, which is very strange. But combining for 10K for my 2 pitchers, if I can somehow get 15 out of them, which is definitely do it in the range of outcomes, you have a differentiated build, and you can play the big guys you really want between the Dodgers and Yankees, and people aren't going to be playing that combination of pitchers. So, yeah, I'm absolutely concerned about the weather in Washington, especially with their history of canceling games that look like that I've seen them cancel games that Roth had as green before. So I really never trust Washington, and I am definitely concerned, but I can't give you any extra information right here. There's nothing, we're really going to have to wait to see if they delay. If they delay, it probably is a good sign. If they don't, I'm still going to have some exposure to it. It is my main stack on FanDuel, but I'm also aware that with the ownership, I probably need to get a little different. So I'm going to do that by playing guys who cross over at the same positions and then playing the bottom of the lineup with Taylor, Bellinger, and Lux. At least 2 of those guys who will get the lower owned version of that particular stack. So drop on in what you think you're doing. I don't know how to rate this NBA game yet. Another one where we have literally like 9 guys questionable. I know Miami's been doing that, but this is legit questionable. I mean, Jimmy Butler didn't play the second half of the last game. Anybody of these guys being out is going to really change things. My guess is they all give it a go and play. I got the question from our guy Fox in the chat earlier, and about who would I captain the most in basketball. I think as of right now, it would be Tatum. But that's assuming that everybody from Miami plays. If anybody from Miami is out, I would go back there. And I do like Bam in this series. I know he struggled in the first 2 games and was great in the last one. He's eaten at Boston over the last few years. So I don't mind going back to Bam here as another potential guy I would use. But the other one you can consider, which would be the weird play because of no hero, would probably be Oladipo for me. Still a bit of a long shot. Didn't play any minutes in the first half last game until Butler was out, and then played the whole 20 in the second half. I just don't know what his role is going to be yet, so I'm interested to maybe take a chance there. But I think it's getting a little thin if you're not going to play the top guys as captains. We've seen it work before, but we've mostly seen it fail. All right, let's see what else we got here. Don't know what that one means. What's the word mockingbird? Is there something I should know there? Is that just to rhyme? I do think if look, you have the best pitchers umpire in baseball in the game in Baltimore. So if you wanted to get weird and play Jordan Lyles, I think you could do that instead of Marco Gonzalez. I'm not going to do that, but facing this Yankee lineup there are strikeouts there. This is a weak version. We saw Lyles pitch well against them last time. I think it goes the exact opposite way, and I think that they get to him this time. But seeing the lineup they put out there, I definitely don't feel as confident in that as I did at the beginning of the day. So that's where I'm at with that. But guys, fire in the QQs, fire in any thoughts. For what it's worth in the NBA game today, because I didn't post, I did post my bets, but I will give away a part of it. I think my favorite bet in that game would probably be the over, and I don't feel great about that, but I do think that the over at 206 starting to get to the point where, okay, I think that, we could accidentally, I think you're looking at 60+% of the time that you're going to hit the over here. And again, it's always hard to say that with Boston, Miami, basically all the teams that are left except for Golden State. But I do like the over at that low number. That 206 is just a little too small. Some other stacks that I've heard other people talk about that I wanted to address that I wouldn't mind, especially in large field stuff. I mentioned a little bit the Twins. I do like the Phillies. And I think there's an argument to be made for any Braves as a one-off. I can just remind everybody that nobody's going to play Ronald Acuna tonight, who's probably the best fantasy producer in baseball, against Zach Wheeler, who, while is very good, part of his thing is you can run on him. He gives up, he'll give up some hits. He doesn't walk people very often. He has the two weird outlier games where he walked a bunch of guys this year. But I don't mind getting to some of the Atlanta bats, whether it be, even as one-offs, Olsen, Ozuna, Acuna being probably my favorite. And I think that they all make enough sense, even if you wanted to take a weird Adam Duvall shot instead of playing this other value stuff that we're doing. Just because he's batting 8th doesn't mean he can't hit one out against Wheeler, who will challenge hitters because he doesn't walk people. But I mentioned I like them. I'm sort of surprised that I'm not getting to the Astros. Now, I'm a big believer in McKenzie's talent, but I also know he can get really wild. He can give up the long ball too. And I think that it's an interesting spot that I just sort of thought everybody would pivot over to more. And I think that's what will happen if the Dodgers, I think it'll go Yankees and Astros will be up there. But I don't know. It's because of the pricing. Maybe that's why people aren't going to do it as much on DraftKings. And I do think that a low-owned Houston stack is definitely in play, although to be honest, I'm playing a little bit of McKenzie as well. I think that Seattle, even though I like Logue as a talent, I think that there is an argument for them to be played. Look at the games in a dome. I think you could make a good argument for both sides of the KC-Arizona game. I prefer the KC side of it, but the roof is going to be closed, so it's not overwhelmingly exciting. Not great hitting weather pretty much anywhere tonight except for Atlanta. San Diego and Milwaukee, basically they're passes for me, but look, if you're playing a ton of lineups, I wouldn't blame you. And I feel the same way about the Mets and Giants. If there was a way to, it's a time to maybe play the Giants as a stack, I think this is not a bad spot for it. And I don't have any Alex Cobb in my lineups tonight. I think that the Mets at 0 ownership just are mildly intriguing to me because, especially if that Dodger game doesn't go, though. These are more the other ones. I still want to focus with the Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, and Minnesota being my favorites with some Houston in there. That's sort of the route that I'm going tonight anyway. So what's up, Sensei Jay? Good to see you, man. So fire on any thoughts, fire on anything. So if we're going to be, so how many home runs a pitcher gives up does not have any relevance to whether or not we should be playing the pitcher, to be honest. The guys who get the most home runs in baseball generally are the better pitchers in baseball. I mean, you look at last year's Scherzer, Verlander, Cole. These guys have all led the league in home runs. And while he gave up 8 home runs, he hasn't given up any in his last 2 starts. He's looked way, way better. I think he's actually a talented enough pitcher. I think Oakland's offense is awful. And I also think that Oakland is going to end up – I think there's a lot – I've heard too many people talk about this pivot stack with Oakland to get off of the Gonzalez stuff that I can't buy that Oakland is not going to be is going to be completely unowned. But certainly you're getting some cheap options, especially as the lineup. I believe we still don't have it out yet. I'm just double checking. Oh, no, I have it out now. Sorry. But yeah, you could go the Bethancourt, Murphy, Pinder, Noose route at just super cheap and then play the whatever other stack you want with it. So that's totally viable to me. It's not what I'm doing. But I actually like Marco a lot tonight. I'd probably be playing Marco tonight if he was like 7K. So that's where I'm at. I don't care if he's giving up 8 home runs. Duncan Robinson, the thing is, people I think like to compare them. They're really not similar. Duncan Robinson doesn't create his own shot. Hero does. Sure, there's definitely a path for him to get some playing time, but I think there's also a chance that he plays 0 minutes. I really do. I think there's a chance Robinson plays 10. There's a chance he plays 0. I don't think enough to where I'm actually going to play him in DFS. Could he get hot? Sure. We've seen it happen with these guys before. I would lean more towards the Martin Vincent guys than I would towards Robinson. Probably Martin being the better one because of his price. And again, Oladipo, I still think as a mid-tier play is really interesting because I think there is upside for him, and I think he could easily supplant some of the guys we've seen close games for the Heat, depending on how the flow of the game is going. So that's what I'm doing with the Robinson, with the Hero stuff. It's not like Duncan Robinson's an immediate, we'll play Robinson instead of Hero. Like Hero's their offensive initiator. Duncan Robinson, they've got a bunch of other guys. I mean, to be flat out honest, like not for their career, but every one of these other guys has been a better shooter than Robinson basically this whole season. So I don't think that Robinson is viable for me. But at low ownership, I'm not going to fault it. You're playing speculation. My guess is he plays somewhere in the 5-minute range tonight, unless it's a blowout, which is possible too. But I don't. If anybody else gets it, if it starts getting announced out, then you can maybe start thinking about that. But for me, it's not going to happen. I just went through all my Hero ones, so that answers that question. For 3-man stacks, do I like Houston, Seattle, and large field GPPs? I do. I like both of those Sharks. I think those both make for nice 3-man stacks. If I had to pick my 3, I'll go a little further into that. The Houston side, I always it's going to be Alvarez, some combination of Alvarez, Tucker, Bregman, and Altuve. If I was going full 5-man, I would try to play those guys with Pena. And I probably wouldn't include Brantley or Gurriel unless I got to 4-man stacks because of the lack of power, I guess I would say. And on Seattle, the top 3 are – I like Suarez. We got Suarez against the lefty, even though, I don't think he's bad. I think Suarez, I think that Ty France and Julio Rodriguez would be my favorites with a little head nod to JP Crawford and Winker in the lefty-lefty matchup. So I do think the Seattle stack is more viable. I like that one better than I do the Oakland stack, but certainly we've seen things happen before. So I wouldn't be surprised if an Oakland mini stack, just even for value, paid off a little bit because I'm using Minnesota in that fashion. That's what I'm doing. Any Cleveland tonight? J-Ram is a one-off, of course. Jose Ramirez, yeah, we talk about it a lot. Jose Ramirez and Ronald Acuna are guys who you should basically just always have in your pool. And if you're playing like more than 20 lineups, they should absolutely be in some of them against every matchup with the speed power upside. I don't like picking on Garcia, who's a really good pitcher in real life. Like I think he's actually like underrated by the field. Wasn't great the last time out. Does give up some home runs. So I like them better as one-offs than I do as a stack. And I think if I was going to play anyone other than Jose Ramirez, you could make an argument for Franmil Reyes at 2,800 just because of the price. Rosario is a nice mid-tier price. I don't think I want to stack these guys together, but I certainly don't mind getting that way. And Josh Naylor, of course, because when Josh Naylor goes off, we all know he goes way off. And it's probably worth noting that he's hit 4 home runs in the last 3 games that he's played. I know he had a long break because of the injury in between, but he bounced right back after the monster games and hit a home run again. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. So I think Naylor might actually be my favorite of the non-Ramirez Indians one-offs. I called the Bill Miller one earlier. I was talking about that. It's clearly the best. And what's the other one you mentioned? Let's see real quick. I'm jumping around. The Twins game with Buckner. I mean, we've seen different systems have Buckner rated differently. We used to be an extreme pitchers. We saw him as an extreme hitters one year, and now he's just in sort of in between in terms of what he's called so far this season. So not giving any real credence to anything with that one. Doesn't really mean anything to me, the Buckner one. The weather is more of the issue for me on that one. What's up, Brett? Let's crush it tonight. I'm with you, man. Let's do it. All right, let's see. Pop on any other questions, basketball or baseball related, and we will get to them. Sheets is out today, so we're sorry not to have him. Hopefully, he can be back soon. Yeah, I'm punting with. I mean, again, it's chalky punt, but I'm pitching some Gonzalez, and I like picking on. Obviously, I want to pick on Jordan Lyles, but 5,800 for a guy who has a leash, who just put up 24 against this team or whatever it was, I think is reasonable enough. But I would go with Greinke as my other punty play, and I do have some Lyles and Greinke matches together just to try and get different in my build. Play the Astros and Dodgers or Astros and Yankees, the expensive ones, and I think that that's a way of getting a little bit different while staying with the stacks that you like. All right, I'm taking a look, see if I missed anything else here. I think I've gotten to every question. Looks like I have, yeah. But that's so back to it though. I mean, you really could play. This is not a standout stack night outside of the Dodgers, Yankees, and I think Philadelphia is the one that's sort of not getting talked about quite as much as they should. I think by the time ownership comes around in the high buy-in, that Philly's not going to surprise anybody. But you've got some good righties now in the lineup that have been really, really hitting the ball well. And Hoskins has a little mini slump after getting red hot there for a couple weeks. But I like even going all the way down to Real Muto. I just don't think people are going to play him that much at 4.1 down at the bottom of the order, hitting 7th. And like I said, you mix it in with Hoskins and Baum. And I think you've got a nice little 4-man, and you can always add one of the lefties in, especially Bryce, to a 5-man. My NBA plays, I don't know how to answer that question. There's not a ranking of NBA. I can't rank anything because I don't know who's playing. Assuming that everybody plays who's listed right now as questionable, obviously Hero's out. I'm assuming you're talking about one day on DraftKings only. I'm always going to assume that. I'm not playing any NBA tonight until I find out about that game. Maybe I'll enter a lineup late because I don't know how to answer that without everybody is going to warm up with to see if they can play. If anything happens and any of these guys are out, everything changes. So I don't know how to answer that question. I think Lowry's fine. I think that the guys who I would probably not be fading, I'd probably have in most of my lineups would be Tatum. Tatum is one I would for sure have. Kind of like the idea of a Derek White bounce back game, but that's not like a must have or anything. Tatum, you're going to want one of Bam or Tucker Bam, Butler or Lowry. I would go Bam as my favorite. But if they say Butler looks totally good, they could easily switch to Butler. But I do like Bam quite a bit at his price too. So I think Bam. And then I would want some exposure to Lowry, but I do want to speculate with the Oladipo play, who I still don't expect to get crazy ownership. And I would be playing Caleb Martin in most of my lineups because the minutes should equal out for him to at least get. I mean, what does he cost? 1.5 or whatever, 1.6. Not even that high. I think that Caleb Martin is like a weird value. Probably the one I would feel the most comfortable with, although I don't feel incredibly comfortable with any of them. Martin and Dedmon would be the two favorites, but Martin would be certainly ahead of Dedmon for me. With no Hero, I could see him getting some extra run if Struss gets in foul trouble, if Lowry gets in foul trouble, if Butler gets in foul trouble, if Tucker gets in foul trouble. Oladipo may not play the role off the bench like we've seen before because it's just hard to know without the plays. Horford is fine. I don't think he's had a game in this series outside of the last one that actually was good with Robert Williams. But it's fine. It feels kind of stupid, just to be honest, to pay the same amount for Horford at similar ownership to Bam. I think Bam is a significantly better play than Horford. And I don't care what happens tonight. I think that's just the way that it is. The same price, Bam is just the better play. No, Horford's had some games here and there and all that stuff. I like Bam better, especially in this matchup. And Bam has beaten up on the Celtics. Thanks a lot, Sensei J. Appreciate it. Let's see, a Brewers stack. So that's one I didn't get to, but tell you what, it's a little cool in San Diego tonight. I think you could take a shot against Nick Martinez. I think it's a really good contrarian stack. So I'm on board if you want to go ahead and do that. Maybe Renfroe, Wong, Yelich, Narvaez, McCutcheon, somewhere along those lines, or maybe you play Taylor instead if you want to save a little bit. Urias is certainly fine, but I don't like that price for him. But as a stack goes, yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with the Milwaukee stack. Not what I'm doing personally, but I'm not going to fault anybody for making that play at all. One thing to keep in mind is just a pretty good bullpen in there for San Diego, and just always something I like to look at on bigger slates. But again, this slate is it's maybe not. It's not the big slates we're used to. You used to see where you'd have 5 or 6 teams with 5+ run totals and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't know. I just feel like, especially if depending on what happens with the Dodger weather, you're going to see pretty concentrated ownership, I think. And if people get nervous about the Dodger weather because there is like a delay, then I would want to jam in more of the Dodgers, because I will take that gamble in these types of spots. We won about the one I finished third in a couple weeks ago. I played the Yankees at basically zero ownership, or I think Judge was the highest owned at like 6.5%, on a night where they were supposed to be the most popular team, but people were afraid of the weather. I thought it was worth the risk, and sure enough, it was, because they ended up scoring, I believe, 11 runs. So I do think that that's a smart way to go on that one. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get out and finish building some of my stuff. I will be in Discord if you have any direct thoughts or questions, and I hope somebody takes something down tonight. Good luck to everybody, and make sure, if for any reason you're not in the Discord, that you jump on in as soon as possible. Before football, we're probably going to turn most of it into premium. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had. So please like before you get out of here, and let's make some money tonight. Good luck, everybody.